Time's coming.
At the
Train
tree.
can't be stopped. It's all right here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have a wrong to break. A lot of us here have called
I can only show you the door.
waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Each wearing a mask. The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
At the
Train
tree.
can't be stopped. It's all right here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have a wrong to break. A lot of us here have called
I can only show you the door.
waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Each wearing a mask. The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
At the
Train
tree.
can't be stopped. It's all right here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have a wrong to break. A lot of us here have called
I can only show you the door.
waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Each wearing a mask. The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
At the
Train
tree.
can't be stopped. It's all right here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have a wrong to break. A lot of us here have called
I can only show you the door.
waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Each wearing a mask. The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
At the
Train
tree.
can't be stopped. It's all right here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Singular as he crossed the brink. Monsieur calling.
I can only show you the door.
Awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Each message.
Almost happened, right?
The world is changing. Every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming. Trading can't be stopped. Legend is already here.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to The True Perspective. Just starting now. Looks like I started all
This is
the
your last
lives a
chance.
little late.
After this,
I mean, not late. Not in unison. That was my bad. I apologize. Let me get this camera work up here. Natasha, I see you, Natasha. Thank you for tuning in. Long time no see, long time no talk. I appreciate you for tuning in. Oh, I switched the wrong camera, didn't I? And I'm hearing feedback. Give me a second here, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. I gotta mute this. Thank you for tuning in. Long time no see. Where am I getting my? There it is.
all I'm offering is the
I'm hearing feedback. Give me a second here, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Oh, because I'm hearing it from the phone. That's why. All right. We good? I think we're good. I got to switch that camera again. Hold on. Boom, boom, boom. So, a little bit. Here I am. Rough, scruffy. Rough and scruffy. Listen, a bit of a change tonight. I didn't really get to schedule this the best way that I wanted to. And unfortunately, Iraq will not be joining me tonight. Unfortunately, he has a family emergency with his daughter. I don't want to get into. I don't want to say any details, but as far as I know, everything is good. Keep him in your prayers for a full recovery. I don't know the full details of everything that's going on, and I don't want to put any private business that doesn't need to be out there. But you know, it's a family thing. I said, hey, you know, we'll reschedule this. So I'm calling this the pre-anniversary show, whatever. So right now you just joined live with me tonight. I did speak before the show started. I did speak with Tower Man. It just seems like every time when a show's starting, he ends up hitting me up. If anyone doesn't know who Tower Man is, I gotta get there we go. You can see my big scruffy face now. He usually just calls in and starts talking. We start getting deep on top, and I'm like, hey, listen, the show is basically solo because of Iraq won't be stepping in tonight. I may have some guests show up tonight. I don't know. I put the word out prior to even knowing any of this information tonight on Iraq's behalf. Good friend of mine. He started the show out with me. The first episode that you'll see of the True Perspective on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Iraq came through last year, sometime in February, and started the first episode with me. And so I wanted to honor that and have him come back in here because I haven't had him on since. I haven't even had him on since. I've had other people come in here like handfuls of times. I haven't even had him on since. We've talked about it. But anyway, so it's just with me tonight. We'll do a few things. We probably listen to a little bit of music, Maybe we'll go into some politics stuff. Oh, so what I was getting at, what the fuck was I saying before? Oh yeah, Tower Man had called me prior to me starting the show tonight, and he might call in. So if anyone hasn't seen any of the episodes with me and Tower Man, he usually calls in. It's usually right now anyone who knows his voice knows who he is. He's a close friend of mine. Many years growing up together. That gives a bunch of detail right there for anyone that knows me pretty well. But me and Tower Man have gone back and forth on many topics. He actually, you know what, on the Rumble side. By the way, thank you for tuning in once again. I see everybody. Hi Alice. Hi Lori. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure, listen, if you can, please like, share, subscribe to your friends. Tell your friends about the podcast, the True Perspective, the TRU Perspective, the True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Trying to get more audience in here, more people that are searching for the truth, more people that are, whatever it be, we could talk God, we could talk politics, we could talk girls doing OnlyFans. We could talk whiskey, we could talk beer, we could talk, you know what I'm saying? This is a wide open platform, and what I like to do really in the long run is to get more people either in the chat or bring them on either through the phone or through Skype or through a different means. I'm working on a different streaming mean to have people chime in where they're able to, come on. That's my. Y'all hear this in the background. So look, let me just finish my thought out right there. I want to get people on here, from within the audience, so we could build, so we could talk about, what's going on in the world, things that that we really need to pay more attention to, spread the word about, and also support platforms and free speech of people that are trying to get these ideas out there, but not only the ideas out there, but the information out there, because there's a lot of stuff that I come across on other podcasts. Close friends of mine that have podcasts. Shout outs to Dan Badandi. He has a great podcast. I want to say he calls it more of a ministry, but he talks a lot of the raw material of what on the religious aspect. He's an interesting guy to talk to. He also is very informed about what's going on in the world. Also, shout outs to Will Turbot, Fake Mike Real News. Also shout outs to Joa Orga, who does a lot of First Amendment audits with police. There's a lot of people out there that are contributing to the content, to their own content, and to the content in a community aspect of getting that information out there. But tonight's show was going to be the anniversary show, and me and E-Rat were just going to sit back, bullshit, tell stories, talk politics, talk whatever. Like I said, this is a free and open platform, and it's funded. It's viewer funded. It's not. This isn't. So far right now, there's no sponsorship, and the only way that I would actually do legitimate sponsorship is if that they have limited control, if any, on what basically if there's a sponsor out there, and there have been people that have contacted me, they legitimately you would just only get advertisement on the platform, because it's on like four or five major platforms right now. Spotify and Rumble are like the main ones. I would prefer everybody to just like, share, subscribe on Spotify and Rumble. Apple's a good platform too. iHeartRadio's a good platform too. I'm not hating on them, but Apple tends to be, although I haven't been censored on either of these platforms, as far as I know. I haven't actually checked, to be honest with you. Only Rumble and Spotify has kept my episodes consistent. YouTube, I got to be careful their platform because they're very consistent on shutting things down. A lot of times when I post on YouTube, it actually censors other countries from actually viewing it. Most of the time, it's like Canada, which, by the way, Canada has gone through legislation in their country where their podcast, specifically podcast. I don't know what the actual what the language is on their over there for whatever legislation it was, but it was recent. Their Prime Minister Justin Trudeau got it through with other, I don't know, their version of senators, their version of Congress had gotten it through where it's basically banned podcasts from being within Canada. So, for instance, some information that a podcast is putting out, it will not show up in the Canadian search, and in fact, it won't even be accessible, which is it's crazy. They're basically like China 2.0. Not quite China, but certainly close enough. And people say like, oh, well, what do you mean? Why would you mention China? What do you hate Chinese people? No. The CCP is not a good thing. It's not a good entity. It never will be a good entity. It's the CCP stands for Communist Chinese Party, and they're the reason why a lot of their population is either trying to cross over into the border, or they're actually in a population crisis because before they had this legislation where you can only have like the one child policy. Anyway, I don't want to dive into there. It's Friday night, right, ladies and gentlemen? It's Friday night, and I'm very much appreciative that everyone that's tuned into the True Perspective, the TRU Perspective, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. And I appreciate everybody that tunes in. I try to make these lives consistent. It can be a challenge, especially when you're trying to go across multi platforms, and I'm trying to get as much reach as possible. I need your help. I legitimately need your help. You watching right now, I see you, sort of. I see you on here anyway. I see you on some of the platforms. Legitimately, it's viewer funded. But it's also a viewer push. Like if you like, share, subscribe, this defeats the algorithm, and it gets the podcast out there. So let's see. Yes, I am having a whiskey. I am a big fan of whiskey. I'm actually I'm like a novice as a whiskey. What do they say? Connoisseur. I think it's a French word. Whiskey is it's one of my favorite types of. Actually, it's really my only favorite type of alcohol, other than like a good craft beer or something like that, which I am also having. Shoutouts to what trying to remember the brewer. I know the beer is called Chair 2. It's actually their light version of an IPA. It's called a Rhode Island light IPA. That's right. Sons of Liberty Beer and Spirits. They don't sponsor, but if anyone knows Sons of Liberty Beer and Spirits, I am open to getting sponsorship. If okay, so Alice, if there should be, I don't know if you're viewing on your phone or if you're viewing on like a laptop, but there should be an arrow next to a star, or if you're viewing like off of a desktop, there should be like a share option, a share button, and that should let you share it out onto your page, so on and so forth. You said hubby likes it. What is it? Does he like craft beer or does he like whiskey? Because yeah, whiskey's like one of my whiskey's always been my favorite. People are like, what, do you drink that every day? No, not at all. Like, I can't do that anymore. I'm not in my 20s. That shit hurts. That hurts. It hurts now to drink. like back in the day, man. Listen, I used to throw them down. Okay, so on your phone, Alice, if you see, you should see where you're commenting. I don't know if you're on an iPhone or an Android, but it should be on the bottom left side of your phone. There should be an arrow. Click that arrow. That should let you share it. Cheers, everybody. Drink responsibly. Yeah, I love whiskey. Whiskey's my favorite. I like vodka. Vodka is pretty diverse. You can mix it with certain other things. Whiskeys you can too, but I don't like to. I like it either by itself or cold, like on ice. Not on ice if it's just a shot. On ice, maybe mix. I some people don't like mixing whiskey. I do sometimes. I like a Dr. Pepper with it. It's the only time I ever drink soda, and it's literally. I know it's not the healthiest thing to do, obviously, but I don't do this. I don't do it often. It's usually on a weekend thing, and it all depends. I know that probably anyone that's ever been tuning in into this podcast, typically I'll have a couple drinks. I'll throw a little bit back. It's really the only time I get to be honest with you. Now being a father and all that, but I deserve it. Cheers. Oh, yeah. So this thing was going off. So this, why do I have? Hold on a second. All right, there we go. This thing right here is it's called a ham radio, and for anyone that's been following me over the years, as of recent, within the past 4 or 5 years, I've actually obtained my in the last 2 years, I think, somewhere around there, I obtained my ham radio operator's license. It's really not that fancy of a title. I did it so I could learn on how to use it, how to use frequencies, how to understand what frequencies are. And it's like an 80-year-old technology, give or take. This is what they started using, communications between the military and all that stuff. To an extent, it's still used within the military, but it's more on a digital basis. And thank you for sharing, Alice. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I love you for that. But so I got into ham radio, right? The aspect behind this is because, especially during, I've always been like very like a super like preparedness, stock up on food, stock up on water, stock up on medical supplies, stock up on other things I won't mention because they're just firearms, okay? Although I lost all mine in a boating accident, just saying. Another thing that I wanted to add on to like that preparedness stuff was a ham radio. This is this is the only type of one that I have. I have others at home. They're called Baofeng UV5R. And so what a ham radio is, it's a communication device. It's like the oldest form of communication, other than like telegrams and all that stuff. It's the oldest form of long distance communication where on certain frequencies you hop onto repeaters. A repeater is like a tower. You see towers all the time, like cell phone towers. A lot of those cell phone towers actually have antenna for ham radio. A lot of them are in Providence, North Providence, Massachusetts, Boston, all over the country. They have these repeaters where you can communicate. Now, just because that one place has a repeater doesn't mean that you'll be able to reach it. So there's this thing called line of sight. Line of sight means, line of sight could also mean that you can talk directly radio to radio, meaning you don't need a repeater to do it. But it all depends on the environment that you're in. If you're in like an environment that has like a lot of houses, a lot of businesses, a lot of you know, even trees could disrupt communication, the frequency. So if you're in an environment where it's completely open field, and the higher you are, the better, because that it's going to skip across, you know, the wavelengths. I don't know the correct I don't know the correct terminology, but the radio wave is going to, you know, pretty much utilize the atmosphere, utilize the magnetosphere, I think, also, to where it can reach over to the radio or the repeater, depending on what. And there's a lot of like really in-depth stuff about it where you can actually talk to people across the world. I haven't really dived into it that much to where I've done that. I mean, I'm kind of interested in it. It seems kind of cool if I could talk to somebody that's like from over, I don't know, England or Australia, or, you know, somewhere in South America, or even catch on, or even be able to have the capability to catch frequency if it's used. You know, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, all the, you know, to kind of maybe hear things that are going on that you're not going to hear, you know, through a cell phone or something. So anyway, I got into that, and that's something that I've periodically promoted online to people, to say like, hey, alternate communications would be important, because the idea sparked in my mind. In fact, I've always known about walkie-talkies, which isn't your typical Walmart bubble wrap walkie-talkie. It's a little bit more in depth. Although those things still apply, those things are still good, but there are better versions of it still within a reasonable price range. So the reason why I got into that, apart from being somebody that actually stocks up on items that are important, like food, water, weapons, medical supplies, is a way to communicate with other people. And in the beginning, I thought of, like, you know, close family members, friends, about what would happen if cell phone usage had gone down. And I've seen that. I mean, we've seen that, actually. Like, pretty much everybody within the past, I don't know, within at least the 10-year span, 5 to 10 year span, we've seen the disruption of cell phone service. For instance, the Boston bombings. I forgot what year that was. I think it was at least within a 10-year span. In Watertown, Massachusetts, where a lot of that stuff had gone down, they had implemented cell phone service was shut down temporarily for a while too, for a little bit of a duration, for a few hours, I think it was. There was also cell phone service disrupted during the riots when Trump was still in office. More so towards the end, a year or two towards the end of his the end of his presidency. In certain areas, especially when in Rhode Island too, because I had witnessed it for myself. Cell phone service was shut off within that immediate area. I don't think the entire state of Rhode Island was shut down, but definitely when the protests were happening in Providence, they had shut down cell phone service within that area, within the region of that area. I'm sure it's some kind of device that they have. I don't know. I'm sure it's a joint operation between the police and the National Guard, because they were both working together during that time, organizing a plan of action, I guess, against the riots or whatever. And I was there. I witnessed. I was at the State House. And that actually was at the time when I thought that this movement had something to actually offer and give. I actually started to see a lot of things within BLM and within Antifa. I've seen both of those movements, both of those face to face there. The only difference between the rest of the country in terms of BLM and Antifa was that Rhode Island actually didn't have as much or very little action. And what I mean by action, there wasn't. I mean, there was at least one incident that I do recall where there was a night of a few fires, on one of them being a Providence police vehicle, and it seemed like it was purposely abandoned because there were no police around. It was seemed like it was purposely abandoned. It was broken into, smashed into, and then it was lit on fire. Later on, some people, I think, were arrested for it and then let go. The FBI was involved or something like that, but then like there's really nothing that came out of it as far as I know. I didn't hear too much further beyond that, but the difference, and that was like a very small, well, I wouldn't say small incident. I think it could have I think it could have became more, but it just didn't. And I think it's because of, I think it had a lot to do that the actual community, because there were like some outsiders, and they called it that, some outsiders that came in that weren't from Rhode Island, weren't from Providence, and wasn't from the community there. And I think some came from Fall River, some came from Massachusetts, and some even came from Chicago. With that's what I don't know. That's what I believe. That's what the article said. But that's what I remember. I'm going off of memory. So I think the community just in general resisted it, even if they were a part of the BLM movement or the Antifa movement. People weren't about to have a situation arise where the community was about to burn down and all that stuff. So that, and which is good. I mean, it kind of actually gave an opposing opinion on the movement itself, but on a countrywide scale, in fact, on a global scale, I would say, at least in the Western countries, because there were some movements popping up in England, I believe Australia and Germany and stuff. All of these BLM and Antifa, mostly Antifa in other parts of the country, but definitely a coalition of the two were popping up in all these other countries, mostly in the westernized countries, and we're beginning these riots. So that was an interesting time, because okay, so that's why I got on the topic, because that's what made me think of getting more associated to ham radio and GMRS radio, MERS. There's another frequency, I'm missing it right now. FRS, GMRS, MURS, MERS, and ham. There's other types of frequencies. I'm not remembering it off top right yet, but those are different types, different I want to say catalog of each frequency. I don't know the correct terminology and all this stuff, even though I took the class for ham radio, and I went to go get my license, and I got my license. It lasts for 10 years. It's only $15. It's actually very cheap, and it's like super easy. As long as you like studying the material. I think I actually still have the website stuff that I could go through if it's still there. I haven't checked in a really long time since I got it. But you can get that, and then you can also get your you're supposed to. So the conversation that I've had with people about ham radio and alternative communication, and the event that you'll need it. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this fan on real quick. In the event that you'll need it is sorry. So the communications, in the event that you'll need it, it basically gives you like a fail-safe on, if your cell phone goes out, or, if you need to listen in on local law enforcement, which some of the frequencies you can, although a lot of their frequencies goes into a digital form. I forgot what it's called, PS something, PF1, PF2, or something like that. I can't remember, but it's a digital encryption where it makes it basically impossible for us to listen in, which is also somewhat of a constitutional issue, because now the public cannot listen in on their local law enforcement actions, and then their argument on their end is to keep it private so that anyone that is listening in, they can't have an advantage of listening in if they're being tracked or whatever. If a criminal's being tracked, they don't have the upper hand on listening in via scanner or a radio, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But at the same time, there's no transparency, and that's where the argument is. I'm remembering what I meant. So I've had conversations because technically when you're using these frequencies, you're supposed to have a license, right? The FCC requires that you have an amateur operator's license, an amateur radio operator's license, in order to use the frequency, in order to press the button and talk. And you get a call sign. Your call sign's your identification and it all that stuff. And it just says that you're able to use the frequencies, basically. The FCC. And the FCC is run by the government. There's certain rules. There's certain things you're not supposed to talk about on there. Blah blah blah. I did it. I sacrificed to do it because I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to become more familiar, so that in the event that if I had to show somebody on how to use it, I can, and I will. And I have. I've done that before. I've passed out radios to people before in the past. I got friends that have them. Every now and then I update them. It's been a while since I've updated a few. Although I'm attached to this website called mygmrs.com, and also I think it's like Ham Radio Network or something like that. I forgot. Maybe I could probably look it up right now. And so I'm attached to these websites, and every now and then they send me updates of like frequencies and all that stuff, or just changes. And it's from all across the country. And then it even goes out further where you can get like other people in the world, or other repeaters, other frequencies in the world that you can utilize. I don't really go into those because I don't have any long range stuff for that. But I've talked to people, in Florida, in Georgia, New York, Boston, obviously Rhode Island, Tennessee, a few places. What is the ham radio frequency? Sorry, people. What is the frequency? Library? I forgot. Probably ARRL. I know there's another website that I've used, and I can't remember off the top. It's been so long since I've been to it. But you can go to learn more. This is the website that I've actually gone through. It's called ARRL.org, and it's the National Association for Amateur Radio. So you can learn more information on that, because I probably butchered a lot of the stuff that I was saying earlier. But yeah, it's boring stuff. As far as like talking about it, because especially if you're not interested in it. But I think it should be a good thing that people should be interested in, only because, like I said, it's an alternative way of communicating if something were to go down. Now, if a power outage goes down and they don't have like a solar powered repeater or anything like that, well, I mean, it's not saying that the radio is useless, but you won't be able to use a repeater, won't be able to go long range unless you get high up and you're able to have that, that line of sight. Anyway, that was a little bit of a dive in Ham Radio 101, the true perspective version. Don't take my entire word for it, but that's the reason why I got into it, from those events. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a reason why I do certain things, why I get involved in certain things. There's a reason for it, and I try to get ahead as much as I can. I mean, to be more prepared and more alert, more privy, more knowledgeable. I mean, I'm a student in this thing called life, like everybody else. So But I do try to be resourceful as much as I can. You know, if someone were to ask me a question that revolves around some sort of I don't know, political thing or an idea that I may have, or someone has someone asks for opinion on, or you know what you know what's ham radio? What is that? What's GMRS? True. What's FRS? What's MERS? What's all that mean? MERS is marine frequency, and that's a frequency that you don't need a license on. You could talk FRS. So FRS, I forgot what they stand for, but FRS, MURS, MERS, those two frequencies technically you don't need a license. You don't need a license for it. Technically, you need a license for GMRS and ham radio frequencies. Don't ask me why. I'm just a messenger. The FCC, government, they always want they always want to make a rule so they can get you to pay them to utilize a fucking radio frequency, which is basically air. I mean, not quite, but it's somewhat like that. Like, it's not actually, I don't know, who cares? Whatever. So I went to get my license and to get more knowledgeable about it. Long story short. Gin, I have had gin, and I don't like gin at all. Only if it's like mixed in something. Straight up, gin is I don't know, just something about it. Same thing with scotch, and I thought that I would like scotch because of whiskey. I do not like scotch. I think scotch is gross. I don't like the whiskey scotch blends either. It's just it doesn't taste good. I don't like it. They don't belong together, in my opinion. But yeah, so I wanted to go in about some things. So I recently came across, I'm gonna see if I could show it on here too. I recently came across a video of I pay attention. I pay attention to as many things as possible. And I've been paying attention to the border. And it's like, oh, here he goes. He's going to talk about the border now. The border doesn't want anybody coming in. Not exactly. There are some people that don't want to come in here, like known people on terrorist watch lists, because we know what happened in 9/11. We don't want to repeat on that. And just to be clear, is that 9/11 was an inside job. So there's more to it than just a few guys that hijacked airliners and smashed them into towers and the Pentagon and somewhere in Pennsylvania. There's way more to it than that. I don't want to dive deep on that just yet. Maybe we'll swing back to that topic. The reason why I brought that up is because the border has been quite a bit of a concern. Not because people are just flooding in here and whatever. I mean, yeah, that's a concern, but there's so many other things too. I'm oversimplifying it right now, but because it's not just people. Well, first of all, it's not even just people from South America that are coming in here, like Mexico, Venezuela. Although there are, it is not just that too. There's people that are coming from Iran, China, Russia, Palestine, Afghanistan, all known countries right now that American military and the government has had proxy wars with, or has had and still have political issue with. I'm oversimplifying that statement. I feel like that's such an understatement right there. All of these countries that the U.S. has gone to war with, Well, at least Iraq and Afghanistan for sure. Syria. So it's not just like just random, and there are just random people that are seeking refuge. Totally get it. Totally understand it. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with the American government forcing this situation. But at the same time, there's a completely open border, and I have friends, and I agree with them. I don't fully agree or disagree with a border. I don't agree with a border on one hand, but I don't entirely disagree with the border because look, how are we supposed to keep people safe and secure? I mean, legitimately, granted, there's no wall, there's no barrier, there's no, there's nothing that could 100% keep people safe in an entire country or community or whatever. There's always going to be opportunity for somebody to do something to do something very damaging. And yes, exactly. That's another thing. Where are they going? And a lot of these displaced refugees or immigrants, however you want to label it, they're being held up in a lot of places that aren't they're not safe for them. And also there's another thing too which is even more concerning is that there's at least 85,000 children that have come from the border, come from that part of the border, and they're missing. No one knows where they are. Someone does know where they are, but the average American doesn't. Some of the average politicians don't know where they've gone. ICE might know. The Border Patrol might know. The government for sure has to know. Because they're being trafficked. I mean, obviously, there's obvious trafficking. The U.S. government, the U.S. Has been found to be one of the biggest child traffickers, human traffickers, globally. So, and there's 84,000 children that have gone missing. Missing. They're not held up in a hotel, although they could be. No one knows. At least they ain't saying it. Where are they? Mind you, there's a lot of underground tunneling within the country, too. I mean, I'm not saying that's where they're going. But, where are they going? That's 85,000 kids, 85,000 children. Okay, so, interesting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that video because I think it's on a different profile. Oh, wait a minute. I believe I can. Give me a second here, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I do appreciate everybody for tuning into the True Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure that you go to the make sure you like, share, subscribe on the Spotify and Apple. The Spotify and Rumble pages. You can go on Apple too if you're an Apple if you prefer Apple. Spotify, the podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. Later on, these episodes will go up on there. So if you happen to just chime in right now, you can always go back to it, or you can actually, I think you can even rewind it now, and it'll still play out up until the present moment. But Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio ends up getting the episodes usually within a day or so later. I am trying to find that video because I've sent it to a few people because I wanted their opinion on it, on what the hell I was seeing, because I definitely saw something, and I didn't want to announce it. I made a post about it. Okay, yeah. So I have this post. I have this video too, and I'll show that also. Not yet, but I will show that. and I saw something, and it looked like something, but I was conflicting with it because of physics. You'll understand in a second once I point it out. Where is that? There it is. I believe that's it. So I'm going to show this video. I'm going to see if I can put this on screen. How comes it not coming up? Oh. Sorry. That's what's happening.
So my wife got me this weird new kitchen.
Oh, yeah? You know the commercials that come up on YouTube? I can't stand the damn commercials that come up on YouTube. I'm going to have to mute that for a second. Skip. All right. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to put it on screen. I'm going to play this. And I hope that it comes up good because it is a little grainy. I'll just play the whole video out. That way you can see it. Yeah, Alice, it is very sad. It's sad. It's sad on so many ends because right now, the border. So look, let's be honest. There are a lot of people that are escaping from a country. A lot of them from Venezuela. A lot of them from Mexico. A lot of them from Colombia, Guatemala. All of those countries are in turmoil with cartels, with gangs, with their own governments, most of the time because of our government being, basically the fucking bully on the block and fueling these countries into complete detriment, complete poverty, ruining their resources, ruining their economics, ruining their education, everything. So on one hand, our government is responsible for the reason why people are flooding this way. And it's also responsible for keeping the border entirely wide open for people to come in here. Because what does this do? Not only does this allow potential, and it's happening, people to be trafficked, children are going missing, but it's also allowing people military-aged men to come in here that shouldn't be in here at all. And they're here. They're actually here because they have been given a mission to be here to cause, disruption, to cause possibly a war within our border, within our country. And I say possible because I don't know. I don't know how it's going to pan out. But I have a huge feeling, especially with what I'm about to show you. In fact, I'm just gonna go to that right now. So this video right here. It's called I think Fox 32 Chicago on YouTube, a news channel. It's I'll throw it in. Let's see. I could throw it in the links of the chat for everyone to see it later on. But I'm gonna show it, so don't pin off if you can help it. But I'm gonna show it. Give me a second here. Because it's important to show. It's so important to show. And this is just one video. I'm going to show two videos, so I'll show this one. This is the U.S. It says the U.S. border protests planned amid migrant surge, and looks like this was posted 7 days ago. So, in the details here, it says the CBP data shows more than 300,000 migrants crossed our southern border, the American southern border, in December of 2023. Shattering records. Protesters from across the country are headed to the border this weekend to demand change. So so there's currently protesters down at the border that want this, this stuff to stop. Having people come over here, but people are saying that they're over there because they're anti-immigrant. No, they people are waking up to the fact that there is a potential, and a very high potential, not only of a there's right now there's a very high potential of a destabilization of this country. We've already been seeing it. Border crisis aside, we've already seen it within our own politics, and we've been seeing it for many years. So anyway, I'm going to show this video because I'm procrastinating.
Data shows more.
Hold on a second. I got to put this on the screen. I apologize, everybody. Here we go. Is that it? No. All captured. All right, so I'm going to play this.
Data shows more than 300,000 migrants crossed our southern border in December, shattering records. Protesters from across the country are headed to the border this weekend to demand change. And Mills Hayes is live in Del Rio, Texas. Mills, who are they and where are they going?
Hey, Don. Well, these people are called Take Back Our Border. They are a group of Americans from all across the country that oppose illegal immigration. They plan to rally in 3 different places tomorrow: Texas, Arizona, and California.
The government is all the way up in Washington, D.C. We're right here. We're the ones who are going to be facing it, and they just sit back and watch, and we want to welcome people into our country with open arms, but we do believe it should be legally. We think they are more than welcome, just do it the right way.
The Take Our Border Back protesters say more needs to be done to secure the border, which is why they're rallying this weekend. The amount of illegal border crossings has plummeted in Texas in the last month. Migrants appear to be shifting their travel route to the U.S. Migrant encounters in the Del Rio sector are down 76% in the last month. CBP sources say that over 70% of the crossings in the last week occurred on the border in Arizona or California. This change comes after the Texas National Guard and state troopers took over control of a major corridor for illegal crossings in Eagle Pass, Texas, weeks ago. Mexico has also increased enforcement against migrants after Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited in December. A progressive Christian group called Vote Common Good came from Minnesota to Eagle Pass today. They plan to confront Take Back Our Border group.
The question that has haunted me is, why don't they come legally? And it's not only the question that haunts me, it's the answer. Because there is not a legal pathway for so many people to enter this country.
The group that opposes illegal immigration says that they plan to peacefully protest and pray for a solution to the border crisis. As for that other group, the Vote for Common Good, says that they just want to talk with the other group and tell them that as Christians, they should welcome all migrants in the country. In Del Rio, Texas, Mills Hayes, Fox 32 Chicago.
All right. I'm going to go back to that video because when I first watched that video, granted the information, I hate these damn commercials. When I first watched that video, there was something that popped up on there that it doesn't seem like it's been very much reported on. It is way too much, Alice, and I have no idea where we're going to house them. New York is flooded with them. California's flooded with them. Rhode Island's about to be, if not already. So I saw in that video something that was alarming to me because there's been rumor, right? There's been this talk about military-aged men, getting over the border, which is very true. It's actually more military-aged men than women and children. And although there are women and children coming over, there's no denial about that. However, there is an influx of military-aged men, and it's not. And I'm telling you right now, it is not just people from Venezuela or Guatemala or Mexico. It is. It looks like, it appears like that there are Chinese migrants that are coming here, very sophisticated, very well put together, a lot more put together than most of these migrants that are coming through. There's also some known, I believe, Iranian or Syrian terrorist organization leaders that have come over here. The FBI has admitted that already, that they have many people on the watch list. So check this out. I'm gonna point it out, and I'm gonna speed up the video right here. Oh, hold on. I gotta put it on the screen here. So I'll put it on the screen here, and I want, if you can look closely enough. If you're on the phone, it might be a little bit harder because it looks like the video gets a little bit grainy. Also, even I don't know if that's YouTube. I don't know. It's not my video. I didn't take the video, so I got to take these captions off too. So yes, okay.
Christian group called.
So yeah, this is actually right where the video is. I'm gonna pause it as best as I can, and I'll point it out, and I want to know what people think that is.
A progressive Christian group called Vote Common Good came from it.
This right here. In fact, I'm gonna just mute it because we don't need the sound, because they're not even talking about it. I want you to focus on this area right here that I'm putting my cursor over. This is a person right here swimming across I'm not sure the name of this river. Eagle Pass, I believe. I don't know if that's the name of the river, but anyway. Let me just back up just a little. So right here, this guy's swimming. This looks like a bag, right? What is this? What is this right here? This right here. Pay attention to this part right here. I want to know what that is right there, because that right there forms into a shape of something that I'm familiar with. I am very familiar with the shape that this forms into. Let me back up. What is that? What is that right there? I'll play it again. I'll rewind just a little bit. This is the thing that I posted about on my personal page, on my personal Facebook page, asking. Well, I actually didn't even post this video. I don't think I even posted it in the comments. I didn't even post it in the comments, but I think I was asking people if I could send them the video, because I'm having a hard time. Either my eyes are playing a trick on me, and also physics is playing a part here too, because I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna play it again, and I want you to tell me what you think it is. So here's the guy swimming, right? This is a bag. I'm pretty sure that's a bag right there. What is that? What is that? Now, if you want my opinion right now on it, should I say? I'm going to play it again. Play it one more time. What is that? Before I say what that is, I'm gonna halt right now. I'm gonna keep myself from saying it with what I think it is, because physics bothers me on how that shouldn't be, right? And I know I'm like being very vague right now. He's probably like, "What the hell are you fucking talking about, True? What are you talking about? Just say it." No, hold on. I want to show you this next video. This is by Tim Cass. Anyone that follows Tim Cass, he has a podcast. Off the top, I think it's called Timcast. Yeah, that makes sense. Timcast. I'm gonna play this video. Can I widen it or no? I don't know if I can. So I'm gonna play.
Okay.
Here you go.
Oh wait, I gotta put it on screen, don't I? I apologize. I'm gonna put it on screen because yeah, I wasn't even showing what I was looking at initially, was I? Oh boy. gotta remember the keys on how to when to switch the cameras. I apologize, everybody, because I'm getting a little excited with the video, because like it's super concerning. So hold on, let me play the YouTube one again. My goodness. I appreciate y'all for sticking with me and bearing with my ADHD. I have like severe ADHD sometimes, and it peaks. It peaks at certain moments. You know what I mean? And I apologize. So I don't know why it doesn't pop back up. So yeah. So I'm just gonna keep it on my screen, on the viewing screen, because I want you to see this again. So I'll replay this one more time, then I'm gonna play the other video. So the guy swimming, bag right there, that right there is like, what is that right there? That right there. Floating next to him. So let's go to the Timcast video. And let's play that. Why is that up there?
Call him the People Smuggler. Oh, that sounds like a supervillain name. The People Smuggler was filmed by Texas Department of Safety drone on Wednesday near Eagle Pass. This is Wednesday. Take this photo, post it on Twitter, and say invasion. Okay, spare me. These dudes are coming with rifles, and our guys aren't even allowed to defend this country from armed people. Wow.
Again, why does this have to be a law? I just don't get this. I mean, I'm glad it is if no one has thought that this is something that's necessary. Why do we have a border if we're not trying to stop people who are entering armed, who are trying to enter illegally while armed? Like, again, what are we doing here, team?
Well, and what are we doing? Why are these governors sending the National Guard down there if they aren't? I didn't know they're not allowed to
They're
use
just supposed
their
to like
weapons
put
against
out their
armed
arms
people.
and be like, go back.
The headlines just say invasion at the border.
It's gonna play one more time.
Well, of course they won't. Who wrote this?
Can we
all UK.
Here you go. They call him the People Smuggler. Oh, that sounds like a supervillain name. The People Smuggler was filmed by Texas Department of Safety drone on Wednesday near Eagle Pass. This is Wednesday. Take this photo, post it on Twitter, and say invasion. Okay, spare me. These dudes are coming with rifles, and our guys aren't even allowed to defend this country from.
Right there. So you see that? Now it's grainy. It's a grainy video, I'll admit. It's a grainy video. That does very much, because you can see his finger, and it very much looks like it's on the pistol grip with his finger at the trigger, and this is somehow it looks like maybe tape around the rifle to keep water from getting into it. It's possible. So why do I bring that video up? Because it's almost like, I swear, like, I don't know, I don't want to say, maybe divine intervention of some sort. Because after I had viewed this video, a day later, I saw that Timcast video that I just showed you, and this video after this video. And so what I think that this thing floating next to this guy swimming, that is a rifle. Now, you're like, true, hold on a second. Rifles are metal. They're heavy. They shouldn't be floating. Totally agree with you. That's why that this video was so much messing with me, because physics says to me that video, I'm sorry, that a rifle should immediately sink, right? Well, I did some research, and apparently, rifles, if they are secured correctly, or if they're polymer, or if they have, usually in the bump stock, sometimes they have some foam padding that could allow it to give it some lift. Sometimes the strap itself has a foam padding. Now, I'm not saying that that's an exact rifle that I think that has those things, but typically, rifles come with a polymer, usually like a polymer body. Usually the The trigger mechanism is obviously metal. The upper and the upper and the lower is usually metal. The barrel is metal. Let's not forget also that there are what's called ghost gun, and they're completely 100% the entire. I think the only thing that is metal is actually the upper and the lower. That's it. The trigger, the barrel, I do believe also is metal. Is also polymer. Is a hard, I guess, reinforced polymer or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on what that is. But there's what's called ghost guns or 3D guns. Those are lightweight. They're super lightweight. In fact, they're actually a preferable. I wouldn't say a preferable version of an. I would much be, reliability wise. I would much prefer a metal, all metal rifle, or at least like 10% metal, 10% polymer, because it makes it more lightweight. Polymer is not a bad thing. I mean, I'm not against polymer firearms, or it just makes it more lightweight. Makes it more, it's also more durable. Maybe not as durable as metal. Anyway, those facts aside, that looked like a rifle floating next to the guy that is swimming. If anyone knows anything about they still have weight to them. They're not completely unencumbering. But when you're with a pack and you got a rifle and you're swimming across the river, which is probably like what, 10, 15 feet. I don't know. I'm not sure how much, and it's moving, it's pushing you. Yeah. You're gonna get rid of your shit. I mean, he's probably not fully trained either. Like, you know what I mean? But usually a Navy SEAL would have swam through that with full gear, full armor and everything, ready to go. But in my very strong opinion, I think that is a rifle floating next to whomever this person is coming across into the border. I'm gonna say there's a possibility that it could be something else entirely. It could not even be a weapon at all. I'm just gonna put it out there only because of the physics of that. I'm having a hard time with it being a rifle, with it being floating on top of water. There is a possibility that is an actual possibility that can happen. Eventually that rifle will sink to the bottom. Water will get in there somehow and it'll just sink it. But again, same can be said about the backpack also. Eventually that backpack will sink to the bottom also. I mean, it's a lot more buoyant than a rifle. I'll agree with anybody that would argue that. But that to me looks like a rifle. Now, why is that important? I've been going and for the past couple of days that I've come across that video. No one, I haven't seen anything online yet other than that Timcast video, but that's a completely different video, or a different person too. So this particular video that I came across, it's driving me nuts. And in fact, it's even solidifying that the information that people are coming across, that they're concerned about military-aged men coming across the border. And now we're seeing rifles. There's at least, to a degree, some evidence there's rifles coming across with these military-aged men. So what are we heading into, right? That, to me, is the concern. I'm not so much concerned about people coming over here, finding a better life, fleeing their country. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not saying that we should bear the burden per se, but I get it. I understand it, and I think most common people in their right mind understand it. especially if someone that holds compassion, holds love for human beings, has a very sense of God and all that stuff. I get it. I understand it. Totally understand it. Why they would come here, right? But another thing too that we have to admit is that our own government is fueling this. Our own government is forcing people from other countries across the world, right in our neighborhood and on the border, to come over here, right? I mean, our government is involved in virtually every single country, almost every single country. And typically, most specifically, in the Southern American parts of the world, parts of the countries, such as Venezuela, Guatemala, Colombia, America has had direct conflict by having CIA agents infiltrating their governments and placing in them puppet presidents, and then completely destabilizing their country and destabilizing their people. So yeah, they would come over here because their own governments don't even completely cause detriment to their own people. So of course they would flee here. And then our own government also causes the conflict with our border, and this is where we are. This is exactly where we are. So so as average Americans, as people who live here, right? Black, white, brown, whatever the hell you are, if you're an American, we're here, and we have to deal with this issue not only at the border, but also that because our government is causing these issues for that border to even be open at all. And now we have military-aged men with rifles, and this is just the tip. I mean, this is barely the tip of the spear. Barely the tip of the spear. They've already uncovered and discovered people that are coming from other terrorist organizations, from Afghanistan, from Iraq, from Syria, from Iran, from Palestine, out of all places right now. We know what's going on in Palestine, between Palestine and Israel, between Hamas and Israel and the IDF, right? We know what's going on. It's been all over the news since October 7th. And before that, they've had conflict. So am I saying that's going to happen here? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to speak that into the ether. But at the same time, it has to be addressed. It has to be talked about. It has to be a concern. It has to at least be a part of the concern. Okay, we can't just be concerned of just regular people coming over here and, we're worried about how they're going to be paid for. I mean, look, our government is sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine in a proxy war that we have no parts in being on, right? And at the same time, Maui gets burned to the ground, all of those people displaced, and they get $700 checks once. One $700 check to rebuild their life back. Meanwhile, billions get sent over to. I'm sorry. I might be over. You know what? Since we're all online right now, I don't think it's in the billions. I might be wrong about that. I know it's really up there in the millions. Because I know there was like a new legislation. Hold on a second. How much has been sent to Ukraine as of today? I'm so I'm terrible at trying to search right now. How much money has the U.S. given to Ukraine? Oh, okay. So it is in the billions. Looks like it anyway. And this is according. I'll put it on the screen in a second. Give me a moment. That doesn't. Okay. I'm going to put it on the screen. I don't know what this document is fully saying right yet, but this is from the crsreports.congress.gov. So it is a government website. And it looks like the total number right here says 23,913, but that looks more like $23,913, which is not. That's definitely not the right number. I don't even know if this is the right document. I'm not sure. U.S. security assistance to Ukraine. So I think this is 23,913. I don't want to. Hold on a second. I'm gonna get the correct number here. Give me a moment. How much money sent to Ukraine? Funny how. Okay. As of December 8th, 2023, because I know we just sent more over. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is all real time right now. We're all learning this together. I know I do know the numbers. Like, okay, so here we go. Bilateral aid to Ukraine between January 24th, 2022 and October 31st, 2023. So as of October 31st of 2023, which is a few months ago, 75.4 billion. $75.4 billion. Humanitarian, $2.7 billion. That's for food assistance, healthcare. Hopefully, that goes to the actual citizens of that country. Because, word has it that the citizens in Ukraine are being completely obliterated during this stupid, senseless proxy war. Financial, whatever that means, budget, aid probably going into Zelensky's pockets. $26.4 billion, funds, loans, and other financial support. Yeah, that's definitely going to Zelensky's pockets. Probably all of it, most likely. Who knows? Security assistance, $18.3 billion. Training, equipment, weapons going to their military, so on and so forth. That's what it sounds like. Weapons and equipment, $23.5 billion. Grants and loans for weapons, $4.5 billion. Yep. So as of bilateral aid to Ukraine between January 24th, 2022 and October 31st, 2023. So either that means that the amount is 75 billion. Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. So as of October 31st, 2023, we've sent $75.4 billion. Total military aid is $46.3 billion. Meanwhile, let's clarify on what Maui was sent. Because, okay, so financial support. Where is this? FEMA.gov. How accurate are they? Am I right? Excuse me. So it says financial support. Sorry, I'm trying to re-highlight what they highlighted. Financial support has also flowed. To date, FEMA and the U.S. Small Business Administration have approved more than $65 million in federal assistance for Maui survivors. The total includes $21 million in FEMA assistance approved for individuals and households. Let's read further. Of the $21 million, $10 million was approved for housing assistance and 10.8 million more approved for essentials like clothing, furniture, assistance, and appliances and cars. SBA disaster loans total nearly 45 million for Maui homeowners, renters, and businesses. SBA loans are the largest source of federal disaster recovery funds for survivors. But how much did the individual get? That's what I want to know. Because that's a lot of money and totally worth it. I believe they deserve more because Ukraine's getting 75.4 fucking billion for a proxy war we ain't even involved in. And I know people out there are like, well, you know, what are you, anti this, anti that? What's the big deal if we're sending money over there? It is a big deal. We're involved in a proxy war we have nothing to do with. That's why. Anyway, individual households of Maui receive. So this is according to NBC News. Families whose loved ones died in the Maui wildfires could get 1.5 million each. So if they died, they get 1.5 million each. I mean, they just... My goodness. 4 million so far, Maui survivors. But that's what's the individual? Here we go. Biden offers contemptible $700 per household for survivors of Maui wildfires. I do not think they were wildfires, by the way. I think there was something more to that. But anyway, as more facts about death and destruction and what caused the wildfires emerged amid growing public outrage over the U.S. government's criminally inadequate... What news source is this? World Socialist website? That is interesting. World Socialist website. Wow, and they're criticizing Biden. That's very interesting. As more facts about the death and destruction and what caused the Maui wildfires emerged, amid growing public outrage over the U.S. government's criminally inadequate response, President Joe Biden boasted on Tuesday of pathetic one-time payments of $700 per household for those who have lost everything in the disaster. This is the what website? World Socialist website? .org? WSWS.org. That's the source that I'm reading from right now. They're fucking criticizing this guy? That's amazing. I didn't think a socialist website would do that. That's amazing. Am I reading that correctly? World Socialist website. Anyway, authorities reported on Tuesday that 1/3 of the burned area in the town of Lahaina had been searched for victims, and the number of confirmed dead had risen to 101. Hawaii Governor Josh Green told CNN on Monday evening that the number of confirmed deaths could double over the next 10 days. So, yeah, that was a terrible, terrible event. This article looks like it was made August 15th of 2023. So, as of then, Biden said $700. Meanwhile, he's sending his boy Zelensky, president of Ukraine, $75.4 billion as of, what was it, October 31st, 2023, few months ago, not too long ago. My goodness. So that's, I don't know where the hell, where am I going with this? How do we jump from the border to that? Oh, because of the concerns of what's coming over in the border, the proxy wars and all that stuff, the funding that goes into into these certain groups and institutions and what is actually coming over here through the border. It's not about migrants that are coming over here in the border. Americans don't care if you're a migrant coming over into the border. Yeah, I mean, Americans care that you come over here legally, right? And people will say like, well, you know, colonialism and, you know, Europeans and all that stuff. Look, America has as much dark history as the Middle East, has as much dark history, no pun intended, as Western Africa, when the Arabs and the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians and everybody else in between had all of their wars and all of their slavery and all of their detriments of societies, kingdom versus kingdom, dynasty versus dynasty. Human beings, this is the thing, this is the problem, and this is my opinion. You know, you could anyone could come and press me on if they want to. I'd be more than happy to have the conversation, and in fact, I would welcome the conversation, because this podcast is about understanding, about having the hard conversations, and about coming to terms with what is right and what is wrong, and how do we meet on common ground. Human beings as an entirety, first of all, we're lost because we've been manipulated in thinking that we're all separate races. For instance, in the 1600s, I think it's 1678 to be exact, the terms white and black no one used them. No one referred to each other as white or black or brown or yellow, or if you were Muslim, if you were a Jew, if you were a Christian. No one referred to each other as that. So we human beings, you're a human being. If you're watching this, you are the resistance. But if you're watching this, you're a human being. We did this. And we are as equally as responsible of how and where we are going as a community and as a society. And what do I mean by that? Are you responsible for what happened 400 years ago? Are you responsible for what happened 1,000 years ago? Are you responsible for what happened 45 years? No. You're not responsible for the actions of what have happened. You are responsible for how the future becomes. We have a responsibility for calling out. First of all, we have a responsibility for calling out evil, for calling out people who are causing a detriment to society, all the way from the top, all the way to the bottom. I don't care what your pay grade is, what your bank account is looking like. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. That's neither Trump or Biden or Obama or Robert F. Kennedy or Vivek or Joe who knows who from the corner of the block. It doesn't matter. We have a responsibility to build up and make this society to become better, not worse. If God wills it. Some people are, and I have private conversations. What do you mean if God wills it? Like, what do you mean by that? What if God wills it? Isn't it up to us? Yeah, it is up to us. 100% it is up to us. If God wills it, in the sense of, do we want to be a better society? Do we want to be more of a compassionate, loving, merciful, knowing society, as in the way that is written on us? I don't want to get preachy. I'm not. That's not even the direction that I'm trying to go to. But a lot of the times, politics, and I hate the term politics, because it's not politics. These are human issues. These are human problems, and there's people out there that want to completely destroy and completely watch the world burn. Your Bill Gates and your World Economic Forums, your Davos groups, your Klaus Schwabs who wants you to eat the bugs and live in a freaking 8x10 almost coffin-sized home. Like, these people are psychopaths that cause these issues, that cause these proxy wars, that build nuclear weapons to destroy ourselves. No wonder the fucking aliens don't want to come down and say hello. You know what I mean? Why? Why would they? Because we're a bunch of goddamn primates that have nuclear weapons pointed at each other. Someone hits the button, is like, cool story, bro. Cool story, bro. And then we're back to the fucking Great Reset, where we have to reestablish, relearn, reconnect, re-spiritualize ourselves, re-inform ourselves, because of jealousy, because of lust, because of greed, because of all of these things. And people will say, like, oh, you know, the Bible and all this stuff is misinterpreted, mistranslated, or different sects come out of this religion and creed and this, that, and the fourth. Yeah, totally agree with you on pretty much 99% of that. The fact is of that, though, is that where are we going as a society? Because if we don't go off of these certain aspects of trials and tribulations that I'm going to use there, if we're not going off of those trials and tribulations that people in the past, the ancestries that have gone through, the heritages that have gone through in biblical times in great antiquity, then where are we actually going to? Where are we actually leading to? If we don't have those, and let me be honest here too, is that a lot of our moral ground is written on us already. We, you know, dare I say, we don't even need the word in order to know the word. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? We don't need the word to know the word because it's written on us. And whether or not we choose in order to act upon that, that is why we have free will. Some people call it a curse. Other people call it an advantage. I think it's a little bit of both. I'll be honest. I think it's a little bit of both. The fact of the matter is that, yeah. I'm just going to, you know what? I'm just going to dive in this a little bit. So bear with me. As God's will, yes. And I think this is part of it. A lot of people are in heavy denial of, they don't understand, and we may not fully understand what does it mean, God's will. I mean, I think it's just so deep, so in depth. Here's the thing: we don't even have conversations like this that is so in depth that has to be. Yeah, most don't believe, Alice. You're 100% correct. I think that it's so deep. We just don't have these conversations anymore. And I'm not talking like you have to be in a temple, or you have to be in a mosque, or you have to be in a church, or you have to be in these designated places to have these conversations. I think stripping the word down, or stripping the idea of what you feel inside of what it means to be a good human being. What is good? What is evil? What is righteousness? What is wrong? What is right? All of these things. I think having these conversations to find a more and better understanding of where we are and what we are and where we are going and what made us to become here, and what is that purpose? Because if you don't know or lack purpose or don't believe in a higher or greater source of you, then this is why we are heading in the direction that we are heading in, because we have people that think that they can be God and they can play this God figure, this God-like figure, the gods of old, the pantheonistic, the pantheistic gods. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but the gods of the pantheon gods, right? The Egyptian deities, the Roman deities, the Greek deities, all of these deities which in fact were actually people that manipulated and perverted the source of the Creator's word, of the Creator's intention, perverted those things and manipulated everybody else, the so-called peasants of society, the great knowledge that people possessed, use that knowledge, because knowledge in itself is not evil or good. Knowledge is just knowledge. It is what it is. It can be either or, right? But if you use that knowledge, you can use that knowledge. That's why they say knowledge is power, right? Knowledge could be power over good or power over evil. I would much prefer having that knowledge to be powerful over evil, which is why we are in the position we are, because there's a lack thereof. There is a lack of restraint on evil, and I do think that a lot of people are woken up to that, or have awakened up to that, but there's just not enough restraint on that evil, and that's why the world is the way it is. I mean, it's completely full of lust. It's completely full of greed, of money, of resources, of food, of water. It's trafficking children. It's pedophilia. It's gender affirming care and misgendering identity and all this craziness. That what the fuck is that? And I'm sorry to go off a little bit. I'm ranting now. I'm in my ranting stage right now, ladies and gentlemen. And I appreciate y'all for sticking with me. I know it can kind of go off into a deep end, but look, I don't have all the answers. 90% of this is like my opinion. 99% of it. A lot of this is coming from a source. You know what I'm saying? Some of this I'm an antenna. We're all an antenna. I'm just an antenna. I'm a beacon, right? You're a beacon. We're all a beacon. Somebody, you tap into something and you're a beacon of that. I think that our world has gone. I mean, look, this almost every religion, every creed, and you don't even have to. It's not even just. I don't personally believe in religion. I think religion is such a separatist, such a divided concept, such a divided ideology. But I'm not saying it's entirely a bad thing either, because on one hand, so I'm going to use Christians for an example, because Christians, a lot of them don't want to admit the history that Christianity has attached to it. Not that they were Christians when they've done it. So I'm sure some of you out there are familiar with the Crusades, and the Crusades is a very, very ugly and very violent part of history. And that's just one aspect of this religious thing. I'm picking on the Catholicism Christianity ideology. I'm just picking on them because right now, to be honest, they're front and center. They're front and center on the maneuvering of this world. My opinion, and this is where I come from, based on what Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, for those who know, was preaching and teaching is, and this is my opinion, I'm not quoting scripture, whatever. The message that was being preached upon was all loving, compassion, caring for each other, building each other up, ascending ourselves, becoming closer to the God, closer to the Almighty, the All Creator, while doing our best to purify ourselves to become greater than what we are. In a nutshell, and I might be oversimplifying or over whatever. In a nutshell, that is the basis of the Christian ideology, right? Outside of that, if anyone perverts that and says, I have to use the Bible to enslave you and to cause chattel slavery and Jim Crow and or even further back in history, just cause these annihilating wars, that is not. Nothing about that is godly. Nothing about that is nothing about that is religious. That is a perversion of religious, which is what we're seeing today anyway. And I don't even think I have to explain that to anybody that knows that. I'm just saying I think I have to just say it outwardly just to kind of to I guess to inform of where I'm coming from when I have that when in my opinion, right? I don't even know how I got on this topic, to be honest with you. See, this is the problem. This is or maybe not a problem. I wouldn't say it's a problem. I go on my rants, and I don't mind going on my rants because I feel like these things have to be talked about. These and it's such a there's such a controversy in it, but at the same time there is a relief in it. There's an honesty in it. Human beings, we have equally a detrimental, ugly, disgusting history. And we also have a beautiful, uplifting, evolving, strong, soulful history also. It works, it teeters both on the line, you know? It always goes back to that same, to that concept that there is good and there's evil. But I do believe that even in the duality of that the good can outweigh the evil. Right now in our history, and right now for a really long time in human history, evil has somehow been able to outweigh, or at least appear. I'm not saying it is, but it at least appears to outweigh the good, right? Because in good hearts, you know, you don't want to see the world burn. You don't want to have a civil war. You don't want to go to war at all. Right? Because that kind of goes against the idea and the belief that you want peace. But if one wants peace, if one wants peace, one must be prepared for war. And it's almost it teeters on like the concept of like it's almost oxymoron, because it's like, well, I want peace, but I have to be prepared for war too, because somebody else is going to try and infiltrate on that peace. I have to be prepared for the battle on that, right? It sucks. At the same time, it's like, I want peace. We want peace, but I have to be prepared for war, because you have to be prepared to defend it. 100%. And you know what, Alice, so I don't know if I talked about, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on this podcast before. I know I've had many conversations in private about it, where in schools, when I was growing up, when I was in school, you'd have the Pledge of Allegiance, right? I'm actually trying to remember right now. I'm trying to remember the opening line. Hold on a second. It's been so long. Anyway, God was a part of that Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was it right there. And I just went off of memory right there. Boom. So in my understanding, not even my understanding, they don't even do that anymore in schools. I think maybe private schools, I'm not 100% on that, but they don't even do that in regular public schools. And I went to public schools my entire life growing up. Every morning, that's what we did, the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, some people will say, like, oh, the Pledge of Allegiance is patriotic, is like, nationalism and all that garbage. But look, we had a different outlook on society at that time. And I'm not saying society then was perfect, or the society or the generation before us was perfect, but God wasn't removed from it. And here's the thing. Here's another part of this conversation too. The idea of removing God from the conversation, from the curriculum, from the institution. We've seen a dramatic change in the school systems. We've seen a dramatic change in colleges. We've seen a dramatic change in the institutions, right? Because now we have all this gender dysphoria garbage that we're throwing Band-Aids at, and now it's becoming more of a of a trending. It's becoming like a trending ideology to do this thing. Like, you're so brave that you have to, change your gender. You're so brave that, to get puberty blockers, or to get your genitals removed or your breast removed, because you're so brave to affirm your new gender, that you don't feel as though that you are the gender that you were born with. Like, what? I mean, granted, by all means, if somebody wants to be whatever, listen, you want to be a fucking cat, because shout outs to Newport high schools, allegedly they're allowing some of their students to be cats and dogs, and some of these kids that identify as cats, they can use a litter box in their bathrooms. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And I'm not sorry if that offends anybody out there. It is a ridiculous thing to allow. It's inappropriate. It's not even, for anyone that thinks that is okay, that's not a mental, I don't know, a psychological disorder. For anyone that doesn't think that's a psychological disorder, then they must have a psychological disorder for not being able to identify that. They need to be in a different field. It certainly is their choice. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, for kids, for children, no. I mean, no. It's not okay. It's not okay, and it never will be okay. I'll never stand on that side. I'll never stand on the side that it would be okay to affirm, gender. What is it? Gender operations to change a child's gender when they're like 4 years old. There's a story in Australia. I'm gonna see if I can try and pull it up. There's a story in Australia I read about not too long ago. And it was about a 4-year-old boy, and his mother allowed the gender affirming care doctors to remove the boy's genitals. 4 years old, to change him into a girl. Australian. Oh, this is actually 2016. Or maybe not. Hold on. Maybe there's more than one case. Australian hospital offering. Melbourne's. So this is dailymail.co.uk. I know some people have different. Here we go. Yahoo News. Let's read this one. I think this is the article right here. NSW, I'm not sure what that stands for, child, 4, identifies as transgender as data reveals growing referrals for gender dysphoria. A 4-year-old who identifies as transgender has begun to transition before their first day at school, hoping to complete the full transformation by 2017. While the child is the youngest on Australian record to change their gender, the New South Wales government has revealed hundreds of other children are being referred to the state's hospitals for gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria. Why are they calling it gender dysphoria? According to the Daily Telegraph, I mean, I know gender dysphoria is a real thing, but this 4-year-old is being changed, and they're calling it gender dysphoria. According to the Daily Telegraph, children who are being referred to hospitals for gender dysphoria are as young as 3 years old. The 4-year-old is reportedly being supported throughout the transition by the education department and is part of the Safe Schools program. Yeah, the real safe. It's real safe. Real safe schools program being supported by the education system. Great. Deputy Secretary of School Operations Gregory Prior said there were a number, unquote, of NSW students in similar circumstances. Quote, without breaching privacy, we have a 4-year-old who is transitioning to kindergarten next year who has identified as transgender. Mr. Prior said at a budget estimates hearing, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if this is the exact case. So has begun transitioning. Complete the full transformation by 2017. So what does that mean? Does that mean that after the hormone blockers and all that stuff, that they do the actual surgery? I'm not sure. I know I've read a story, and it came from Australia. It was like one of the first cases that came out of Australia. But look, this is what we're doing in our world, and 100% it's the parents' fault. That's another thing too. There's definitely a lack of fathers in the home. I don't think that's like uncommon. I don't think that's uncommon news. There's a huge lack of fathers being like, and I'm not just talking about any father, like, because there are bad fathers out there that just don't do shit, and bad mothers out there that just don't do shit. But I'm talking about like actual strong masculine fathers, and like, oh, here he goes with the masculine stuff. Look, masculinity. They perverted this word masculinity as being toxic. There's nothing toxic about masculinity. There's just toxic people. There's just toxic bad people. There's as equally amount as toxic guys out there than there are women, and none of them have anything to do with their femininity or their masculinity. Yeah, I mean, sure, we could clarify it as, a lack of masculinity is probably toxic because they become these overly emotional, and exert that insecurity about themselves because they're men and they don't know how to they don't know how to address themselves properly to others. And in fact, a lot of the people that are in control and want this type of narcissistic psychopath control, those are the toxic masculines that would be defined as that. The actual masculinity that is out there, the healthy masculinity out there, just wants peace, wants the control of and security of his family, his community, and his surroundings and environment. That is a proper masculine in a nutshell. I'm very oversimplifying that. In a nutshell, man. And the femininity part about that is being the word of reason, the voice of reason, nurturing that, making sure that it's being built up to remain sustaining that way. And that in a nutshell is the family unit, which has been stripped away over the last few decades. And it is the reason why that some of these kids that are growing up wanting to be these ridiculous, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. If your kid wants to use a fucking litter box, I'm sorry, I apologize. If you have me on loudspeaker, and I apologize, but listen, this is an adult show. As far as like, if you're over 18, don't have your kids watch this if they don't. If foul language is a bad thing. I apologize. I do try to keep it clean, but I'm expressing myself. So free speech. It's a frustrating topic because I feel like there was one point where I've tried to understand this whole thing growing up about people being a certain way and whatnot. And like there is to an extent, like people are allowed to be this certain way. I mean, whatever. But when it comes to children, when it comes to the invasion of basically the privacy of the home and trying to manipulate and get children on board who don't even know what these 4 years old, you don't even know what day it is. You know what I'm saying? 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old, you want to play with toys. You want to go and run around outside. You want to climb on things. You want to dig, you're not worried about what gender you are. I mean, come on, like I don't understand. So the reason why that this stuff is popping up is because this stuff is being groomed into them. That can only be the reason. That can only be the reason. You sit a child who are very susceptible to being naive, very susceptible to being manipulated, because they don't know any better. 4 years old, you don't know anything. I mean, 0, you don't know anything. You know probably your ABCs, probably how to count, and your favorite toy to play with, or the favorite place that you would like to go outside to go run around or whatever. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely 100% it's the parents. It's 100% falls on the parents. And then secondly, it falls on the institutions. First and foremost, it falls on the parents. 100%, Alice. I agree with you. 100%. And there are a lot of parents out there. Well, the parents that allow it, I don't know how many households that this is going on in. I don't think it's that much from what we see. I think it's a lot less. I mean, but it is out there. I've seen it myself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is out there. It is out. It most certainly is out there. But a lot of this comes from homes that don't have both stable parents. Both stable parents. One of them being a strong, well put together father. And I'm not saying that the woman aspect is any less of that. What I'm saying is, but I read a lot of studies and all that stuff. A traditional father, traditional mom is going to keep their family unit in line and secured and away from this gross information at an early age like that. 4 years old, 5 years old. I don't even care if they're 10 years old or 13. They don't need to be learning about any of this stuff. None of that stuff is actually a curriculum to learn about. Period. End of story. I don't care how many people out there can get mad at that. Get mad at that. I don't care. That is my opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree. I think a lot of fucking parents would agree. It doesn't belong. It just doesn't belong in the curriculum system. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It just doesn't. I have nothing else to say on how to. I have nothing else to say on how to justify where that has a place in it. Where does that have a place? Where? Even the extent of sexual education that they do have in schools, which I remember when I grew up. When I was in I think it was in high school. I believe it was high school. Yes, I believe it was high school. They had this. They had like I don't know. It was a 4-hour or 8-hour class or something along those lines. I don't remember, but it was about sexual education, and it just went over the human anatomy of the sexual organs and reproductive system, and that was that. But they modeled it very specifically. Man, this is a male. This is a female. They didn't have, obviously they you had the scientific pictures or whatever. I don't know the correct terminology about of that. The biology was you didn't see an actual the outside of the flesh. You saw the inside. I forgot the terminology of that. But you saw the insides of what the anatomy was, of what the female anatomy was and what the male anatomy was. and it wasn't. It was just detailed like that. It wasn't even detailed in a hyper sexual way. Now what we're learning, or what's been coming out, is that sexual education is coming out as being more on the pornographic side, much more on the pornographic side. And let's not even do I even need to mention the books that are coming out in some of these institutions, some of these schools, that kids at between the grades of, I think, second grade all the way up to sixth grade and further up, that they have like these pornographic grooming type of books and all that stuff. Man, it's demonic. It's legitimately demonic. It's legitimately demonic. It's disgusting. It's pathetic. The arguments to even have them in there is pathetic. The school, the teachers, any of the legislators that are involved in the schools that allow this to happen and just have these meetings and like completely like just, you know, it's as though that they're so disassociated and disconnected from being aware of this, being present in the schools. They should be fired. They should probably be investigated on. They should never, ever have access to a school. They should never be involved in any school, anything, nothing. Any of those teachers that are involved in it that don't call it out, any of those principals, any of those superintendents, any of them, they should not be involved. And if they are there and they know it's there, they should be speaking out. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Yeah. I don't know. I got on a rant. I went on a rant about gender affirming care from the border and religion. I just think all of these things in a nutshell are tying together because the state of our world is due to a lack of spirituality in God, in walking a particular path that is set for us, or that has been that our great ancestors have set in for us, that the great grandfathers, the great grandmothers of our species have instilled in us through their stories, where specific things have happened due to human beings losing their way. And this is a prime example in modern history, in modern society today, where human beings are furthering the loss of their way, of the loss of our way. Some of us are hanging on for dear life, right? We're hanging on for dear life to make sure, and we do it because out of the compassion, out of the love, and out of the knowledge that we have, and at the sight that we have, the world is turning into, we're trying to reach towards others, to warn them of what is happening and what is potentially to come from it. It is almost like we have the intuition on what is to come from it, right? Because history tends to repeat itself. We're heading in those directions of that. I'm not trying to be doomsday. I mean, at the same time, and I'm not saying this at all to be to make people scared. I don't want people to be scared. In fact, I want you to do the opposite. It's very much so that the information getting to you is to do the opposite, is to be active on the fact that, yeah, these things are happening. Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy, but maybe I should look into it. Oh, that's, what is that, another conspiracy? Listen, don't take my word for any of the thing that I'm talking about. Don't take my word for it. Don't. I would rather. The reason why I created this podcast is so that my opinions on some things can be also expressed, but also that I could get the truth out there and help people look up that truth, look into what's being talked about. I never tell people to go by my word. I never tell people like, oh, I'm telling you, so you don't have to go look it up. No. Go look it up. Go look those things up. Go look up the studies of gender affirming care and why these kids are growing up to fucking commit suicide later on in life. Why do they have a high suicide rate? Why? Is it because some people say, well, they're being bullied? No, it's not. It's not that. It's because of the hormone changes, and it's changing the complete biology that's inside them. The hormone detriment that is causing to their body, and also the detriment that it causes to their body when they remove their genitals or have a mastectomy. That is what's causing it. Because society, Western society, America especially, wants to put a Band-Aid on something that doesn't need a Band-Aid. It needs treatment. And the treatment is not to take them to a hospital to remove their balls or their breasts and to say like, hey, okay, you're a boy that wants to be a girl, or you're a girl that wants to be a boy. It's not the answer. I'm sorry, but it's not the answer. And that offends people. It's like, oh, what are you, xenophobic, homophobic? No, it has nothing to do with that. Could care less. I care at the fact that it's coming at children. Period. End of story. It's infiltrating the institutions of children. And it's also grooming, and it's also teetering on the fact that it is making pedophilia okay because of the bathroom situations and all that stuff. When you have grown men pretending that they're women to go into these women bathrooms or women changing rooms, stripping naked in front of little girls, listen, it is a problem. That's an issue. That should terrify every father out there, every parent out there, for that matter. Every parent should be terrified of that, because you are setting up. It is being set up for pedophiles to infiltrate that. 100%. You don't think there's a sick. You don't think there's a sick individual out there that is thinking like, oh, all I got to do is dress up as a woman, pretend I'm a woman, and go into the woman's bathroom or woman's changing room, and I could find my way into, some little girl? Like, bro, that is the society that we're breeding. Not we, the people who are okaying this, the people who are making legislations to make this okay. Yeah, it's demonic. It's demonic, and it's a separation of God. This is exactly what we're seeing. And say what you want. Say what you want about whatever's preachy and whatever's not preachy. That's exactly what it is. It is a separation from God. It is a separation from God. This is the reason why that things are going the way that they're going. It is a complete separation from God. Whatever religion, whatever you believe, whatever, it is a separation from the Creator. That's my opinion. I'm not saying, but I believe that to be true. Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy. Yeah, of course. 100%. I love these rants because I do get a lot of things across, but it is so demonic. It's just I mean, it boils right down to I mean, exactly what it is. It's demonic. It's demonic. It's a in fact, you can even I'll even throw a bone here. You can even research Molochian deism, Luciferian deism. Deism might be the wrong term. Molochian worship, Luciferian worship, people who worship the Baphomet. What is it? Yeah, those things. Look those things up. All of it has to do with child sacrifice. All of it has to do with human sacrifice. All of it has to do with weird, demonic, sexual, spiritual magic is what is referred. Aleister Crowley would be a rabbit hole to dive down. Yes, Creator is all. Creator is all knowing, almighty, and all powerful. Now, someone would say, well, why would a creator, why would a creator allow this? I mean, in my opinion, he doesn't. He doesn't. We allow this. We do. Human beings do. Human beings do. People say, like, why would a creator allow this? Why would a creator create these things? Creator did not create that. Creator did not do that. Human beings did this. Flesh and bone did this. Unfortunately. But we're not so far gone to where we cannot become greater than what we've been meant to be, greater than what the will of us is meant to become, right? Evil just looks like it has such a strong grip, right? It does. I agree. It does. It appears that way. It does appear that way. But I'm optimistic about the human spirit. Excuse me. I'm very much optimistic about the true human spirit because we're so resilient. We're so much more powerful than what we've been told. We're so much more powerful than what we're supposed to believe. We are more capable than what we think. All of that is channeled from a specific source, the true creator source, the source that wants us back into our the true source that wants us back into our own glory, into the glory of what the creator intended. And unfortunately, at some point in our human history, we've lost our way, and we're furthering the loss of our way. But at the same time, we're also reviving. There's a lot of talk about this great revival, and I do see that. I do see that in a lot of people. There are a lot of things that I attend outside of this that I don't really speak too much on. But I do see it. I see it a lot online also. I see it a lot through people who I've talked to over the years that wouldn't even mention God and now do. Or even quote, the words of Yeshua. Those and those who don't know the real name of Jesus, Yeshua. I like saying that name preferably. The more and more I've learned over time to get as close to the translation, to get as close to the truth as possible. But anyway, the closer I've seen people come closer and transition into becoming more and more in touch with themselves and with the great spirit, with the great source, the great creator, the almighty one. And so when I hear and I speak with people in certain events, in certain scenarios and environments, there's always this talk of, this quote unquote the great revival. And I do see that. I personally have been seeing it. So I can see that being an actual real thing. But yeah. So my goodness, time has flown by. We're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. I appreciate Alice. I appreciate you for keeping up with me here, and I appreciate everybody else on the other platforms for staying tuned in. Once again, it is the True Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. We are live currently as of today of February 9th, 2024. Yeah, so like this episode was supposed to be a pre and actually this episode was supposed to be an anniversary episode with my good friend Iraq, but he could not make it once again due to a family emergency. Prayers going out to him and his family. So far, everything that I've heard coming from him, everything's good. But it it was serious enough. Obviously, more important to attend to. So I will have an actual anniversary episode with Eric, Iraq, and we will definitely set that off, and we'll have fun with it. We'll probably talk about similar topics like this. I'll just have other commentary with him, and I hope to see you there. And again too, I will schedule this out a little bit better. This it could be a little challenging on scheduling these. Speaking of scheduling too, I'll get into that in a moment. My ADHD, but I will schedule the this anniversary episode with Iraq once I get the word from him that we get the all clear. So I'll reserve it for that. I wanted to do it earlier in the month. I came down with like a wicked bad. I wouldn't say like it didn't put me on like I wasn't like in bed or anything like that, but I definitely was a bit sick, and I know it's been going around, and I still have been holding on to a little bit of congestion since then. But anyway, that's what kept me from keeping some of the episodes coming out. My son also had he had me concerned for one of those weekends. So I mean he's little, so he's only 2, but he's such a tough kid, such a tough boy. But he made it through. Everything's good. So yeah, I wanted to do it earlier in the month, but those things were happening and all that stuff. So I hadn't announced anything, and so I'm gonna get that together. So I will announce that, but there are more episodes coming. There are probably going to be more episodes coming in between that, depending. One episode in particular, I'm going to actually have a pastor. A pastor is going to come on here. February 15th. February 15th next week. It is a Thursday, I believe. Don't quote me on the day, but the date is correct. February 15th. I will have a pastor. I don't know if I should I mention the name? Pastor Mike. I'm gonna have a good friend, Pastor Mike, come on here, and we're gonna talk on a lot of things that I have heard from him. There's a particular sermon that he spoke on. He's gonna be live in studio, also. There was a particular sermon that he spoke on that really grabbed me, and we're gonna break that down. I'm gonna toss questions and all that stuff. We're gonna have a conversation. It's an open platform. Like I said, anytime that you've ever tuned into to the True Perspective, it's 100% always been an unscripted podcast. Very little do I script. Like I think I've had like a case file that I did about an alleged murder that happened in Mississippi. I forgot what episode number that is off the top of my mind. I think it might be episode 20 or 18. You can go search for it on Spotify or Rumble, YouTube. But anyway, 9 times out of 10, 100% of the time, this is a unscripted podcast. So, but I'm going to stay on topic and have a pastor in here and actually kind of get really involved in scripture and break that down, and also ask questions, you know, because there's some knowledge that I have outside of scriptural, canonical, biblical information and history and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to relate with it, I think. And we're just going to talk. We're just going to build. This is a building platform right here. Thank you, Alice. I love you. I appreciate you for tuning in. You're one of the good ones. I really appreciate you. I really do. I really do appreciate you for having tuned in and listened to me talk for the last 2.5 hours. I really appreciate you. That's a lot of love right there. I thank you for having tuned in, and everybody else that's out there. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Let's defeat the algorithm. Let's get the truth out there. It's also viewer funded. If you feel like sending a donation, anybody out there, you feel like sending a donation, it's always greatly appreciated. Even $1 is greatly appreciated. Buy me a coffee. How about that? Buy me a coffee, or you know, a whiskey and Coke. No. It's all viewer funded. Most importantly, if you share it, getting through that algorithm. But you can send all of your donations to Cash App, $ True Norseman Crafts. It goes to True Norseman Crafts because that is the connection that I have made so far. So you can put it on $ TRU Norseman Crafts. Send whatever you want. Anything is appreciated. I love y'all. But most importantly, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe on The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in, for having been tuned in and listening to me. And I will see you next time. I will announce the episodes also. So make sure that you do like, share, subscribe. Also on the Facebook page, the True Perspective Facebook page, so you can get updates on when the episodes are coming out. Right now, they've been a little bit kind of sporadic in a sense. Not really. I do try to keep it every week, but I do try to get and keep multiple episodes out within each week. And most of the time, especially lately, I try to keep it live episodes also. So, like I said, like, share, subscribe. The True Perspective, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Rumble. I appreciate y'all. And if you're listening to this transmission, you are the resistance. I thank you very much. I'm going to close it out with the intro, with the outro, rather, music. And I'll leave it at that. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all.
This is your
appreciate
last
you.
chance.
Thank you.
After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling that is burning to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
That's
Train can't be stopped. Over here.